Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about how to punctuate all these different types of sentences we've been learning about. And we've discussed some of this, okay, but I kind of want to put it all together and review all of it so you know exactly what to do with those commas and semicolons or what not to do with them, okay? So let's start with complex sentences, okay? Now, a complex sentence means we have one independent clause and one dependent clause, okay? So if the dependent clause comes first, you must put a comma after it. All right, so look at the example. Because we were tired, we went home early. Notice, I put the dependent clause first, okay? I start with that awubis word, so I put a comma right after it, okay? Now, if the dependent clause comes after the independent clause, you don't have to add any punctuation. So if I said instead, we went home early because we were tired. Okay, notice I didn't put any punctuation in there. I don't need it. Okay, so only if the dependent clause comes first do we need to have a comma. All right, now let's talk about compound sentences. Okay, a compound sentence must either have a comma before a fanboys. Okay, so those two things together. I can't have one or the other. I have to have those two things together, or a semicolon and no fanboys. You never, ever put a fanboys with a semicolon, okay? So our two options. We went to the market and we bought milk. I got two independent clauses. We went to the market, we bought milk, okay? And I joined them together with a comma fanboys, comma and, all right? Now in my other option, again, two independent clauses. We went to the market, we bought milk, all right, and I joined them with a semicolon. Now, I want to talk a little bit more in depth about semicolons because there's something you'll probably never learned how to use before, okay, and they really confuse some people. So we're going to look at some images to help us kind of understand what's going on here, okay? So, what's the point of a semicolon, all right? Like we just said, the most common way to use a semicolon is to connect two independent clauses. For example, the ice cream truck man drove by my house today. He had big, hairy knuckles. So I have two independent clauses there. So I can just put those things together and join them with a semicolon instead of having to make it two separate sentences. So a semicolon is a nice way to stick two sentences together. Okay? Now, how do I use this? All right? If those two independent clauses, like we just saw, could stand alone as their own sentences, it's okay to use a semicolon. For example, my aunt also had hairy knuckles. She loved to wash and comb them. Okay? This is an independent clause, so it can stand alone as a complete sentence. This is also an independent clause. It can exist whether it's attached to the other sentence or not. Okay? Now, don't use it with conjunctions. Conjunctions are words like and, but, or, nor, for, so, or yet are fanboys. Okay? My aunt's hairy knuckles are magnificent indeed, but I have no desire to stroke them. So here, I have my comma fanboys, all right, because we use a comma with a conjunction, not a semicolon. All right, now, reminder, when should I use them? Okay, we want to use a semicolon. We want to join two statements together because they're related together, okay? You don't need to put random sentences together. All right, and those two statements need to be independent clauses. So here's an example. I gnaw on old car tires. It strengthens my jaw, so I'll be better conditioned for bear combat. Those two sentences are related. It gives me a reason why this guy is gnawing on car tires. Okay, they're both independent. I could make them both complete sentences, so they're joined by a semicolon. Okay, on the other hand, down here, I fought the bear and won. Also, I never kissed plague rats on the mouth. In this sentence, your victory against the bear has nothing to do with kissing rats, so we use a period. We don't need to put those together with a semicolon. Okay? All right, so now that we've talked a little bit more about semicolons, let's go back to our other punctuation. All right, so last one, compound complex. Okay, we use the same rules as above, but this time we're kind of putting them together. All right, so if I start with a dependent clause, I put a comma after it. Okay, because we were tired, comma. We went home early, and then I got a comma fanboys we went straight to bed. So you just combine all of those rules together. All right. Now, let's take a look at some practice. And this is where I need you to mark on your paper whatever you see me mark on the screen. Okay, so it says, for each of the following, identify the type of sentence, simple, compound, complex, or compound, complex, and add any needed punctuation. So, number 1, whenever I feel sad, I listen to my favorite music. So, I see 2 clauses here because I got 2 subject-verb phrases. I got I feel and I listen. So, 2. But I see this awubis word whenever, so I know my first subject and verb, whenever I feel sad, that's going to have to be dependent. Okay? So I got a dependent clause, and then an independent clause, I listen to my favorite music. Now, I know if the dependent clause comes first, I got to put a comma after it. So I'm going to add a comma there, all right? And then I'm going to say that this sentence is complex. Oops. Okay. Now, let's look at number 2. We went to lunch in a limo because we participated in the fundraiser. Again, I see 2 pairs of subjects and verbs. I see we went and we participated. So I know I have 2 clauses. So I don't see a conjunction. I don't see 2 separate sentences that kind of squish together. So I don't think they're 2 independent clauses. So I see my awubis word because we participated in the fundraiser. Now, my dependent clause comes after the independent, so I don't have to add any punctuation. So I'm just going to say complex. I don't need to add anything. All right, now number 3. I'm excited for the next school dance. It will be a Valentine's dance. Again, I clearly have 2 clauses because I have I'm excited and it will be. So I got 2 subject-verb phrases. And I kind of see 2 separate sentences here. I'm excited for the next school dance, and then it will be a Valentine's dance. But I don't have a conjunction there. So I'm going to have to add a semicolon. All right, and this one is compound. Number 4, I went to the mall and I bought a new outfit for Christmas. So a couple things I see here. I see 2 subject-verb pairs. I went and I bought. All right, and I see a conjunction and. I also don't see any awubis words. It looks like I got 2 independent clauses joined by a fanboys, and that means I need to add a comma. And again, that's compound. All right, until we met, he was very unhealthy, but now he eats lots of vegetables. Here, I see 3 subject-verb pairs. We met, he was, he eats. So I got 3 clauses here, so I got to figure out what they are. Well, I see an awubis word, until we met, so I'm starting with the dependent clause. That means I need to put a comma after it. Okay? He was very unhealthy. That looks independent. Then I got a fanboy's butt. Then another independent. No awubis here. So that means I need to put a comma before my fanboys. And that one is compound, complex. Okay? So make sure you've added all your punctuation and labeled each of these sentences. And I will be checking that tomorrow.